Hello guys, hope you all are doing well. Now proceeding with our LSVPN session, today we will start with configuring the portal. So first we will quickly run through our lab topology that we will be using here. So basically this is the lab that I have set up. It is set up on Eve NG and here we are using one hub firewall, and this is the our satellite firewall, right? So here is the management connection, that is from my PC using this IP address 48.100. I'm able to get into the management of hub, and using 48.130 I'm able to log in through web UI on satellite firewall. Right now, in terms of interface configuration, I have egress interface configured on hub as 1.1.1.2. This is like you can say as a internet, cloud, router wherein all the L3 interfaces are created, and there is connectivity using egress interface for satellite and hub. So on this ETH1, we can say as a out zone is configured on hub. Then on our in zone, we have 10.1 as a configured, and for the tunnel, I have configured 10.1.1.1. So that is all about hub side. On the satellite out, egress zone out is configured as 3.3.3, and inside zone is configured at 192.168.30.1, and 10.2.1.1 is tunnel IP. So this is how our topology is that we will be configuring. Okay, so now moving further with the portal configuration, these are all the parameters that we need to configure for portal. So first one is like we need a L3 interface on portal that would be used for authentication by satellite firewalls, right? So it's simple. Basically it means that we need a normal L3 interface on Palo Alto assigned with the correct zone and proper routing. So in this case, this is my hub firewall. I have configured my ETH1 as a L3 type, and it's in the virtual router VR security zone. I have mentioned it as a outside zone, and IP address is given as 1.1.1.2. Apart from them, it's I have assigned one management profile to have a connectivity. Not really, depends on how you want, you can set that up. So that is the L3 interface. Similarly, inside interface has been configured. I have set it up as a DHCP. This server, it's also configured as a, to provide DHCP. That we will do in another lecture, how to configure it as a DHCP server. So this is basically done over here. Next piece of configuration that we need to do is to configure a client authentication. So like the next step to start with configuring LSVPN is we need to go to network tab. Then under network tab there is a global protect, and below global protect there is this portal configuration. So in this case I have done started with this, and then I have selected interface as ETH1.1/1, that is our egress interface. IP address has been mapped, and this login page, all like you can customize that later. Now, in terms of authentication, as mentioned, we need to configure client authentication. So in terms of this authentication, we need a SSL TLS profile created. So to create SSL TLS profile, we need to go to devices, device tab, then under device tab, you go to certificate management, and this is SSL TLS profile. So in this SSL TLS profile, I have created a new profile. You can just click on add, give a name here and map the certificate. So in this case, I have already created this profile, and this profile is named as hub1 TLS and certificate LSVPN. Root CA is mapped with uh, minimum version we need to mention here, that would be supported by server, and max version we need to uh, mention here. So certificate here, basically we get here using, like, if you are creating your own self-signed CA, or if you are getting certificate from your internal CA or external CA. So once you have that certificate over here, like in this case SAT1 is the certificate that I have, so that certificate we need to map it there. In another session, I will go through how we can create a root CA on Palo Alto firewall, and how to get a hub server certificate and satellite server certificate, that we will do in another session. Right. Now moving forward with, once the SSL TLS profile is created, we need to create a certificate profile also here. So for that, we need to go to the certificate profile. On this certificate profile, we need to click on add, and under the certificate profile, we need to give name. Any name would be fine. If you are doing certificate authentication, then you need to use subject name. Subject name, um, in this case, it would be using the attribute as a common name, right? And then domain is like, yeah, it's going to be authenticated from which domain, you need to mention that. Then under this CA certificate, you need to map the CA certificate that would be used for authentication. So in this case, like, my CA certificate is this LSVPN root CA. OCSP URL we need to mention here for certificate revocation. And this is all the configuration that we need to do here. So in this case, I have already configured this as LSVPN cert. I'm not authenticating using certificate at the moment, so I have kept it none. And this is the root CA that we have mapped. Right. So next piece of configuration that we need to do is to create a authentication profile. So this all we are creating because if you go to portal, and when you go to authentication, you see we need a TLS profile here, then we need a certificate profile here to map, and then we need a authentication profile here. So that is the reason we need to create all this profile here, and then map all of them under this authentication. So to create authentication profile, we will go to device, then you will see here authentication profile. So in this case, I am uh, doing authentication based off local database. So that is the reason it is given type as local database. So for that, you need to create local user on this firewall. So that you can do by going into device, local user database, and once you go to users, you see I have created this local user. So using that user, I would do authentication. Right. So authentication profile. So auth profile, I'm selecting as local database. There are other options also: radius, TACAX, SAML, and Kerberos. You can do that also. Then single sign-on you can do using Kerberos Ream. It's for another factors that if we want to use allow list, you need to mention here which users are going to be allowed under that authentication profile. So I am selecting it all. Account lockout, like how many times it's allowed, and then lockout time, that all configuration we can do here. So once this authentication profile has been done, we need to map all of the pieces here. For SSL TLS profile, we map this hub. Then under this one, we created a name. You can give any name, and then it's based off authentication which OS. So I have selected any at the moment. Then authentication profile that we have created, and this is the label. What label it would be? Screen, seen on the screen actually. So that piece of configuration we need to do. Once that's done, we need to create one profile for satellites and add serial number. So to do that, we need to come to satellite tab. Here we need to create one profile. So to do that, let's go to this. So I will say profile one. In under devices, you need to add serial number of your device here. It can be authenticated using serial number, or you can manually also authenticate that device. And then under enrollment, if you have any specific user group that you need to map, you can map here. Under gateways, in this case our gateway is this hub one, so we need to add the IP address of the external interface that would be used for authentication. So in this case, like let's say I would say hub one, then it would, like we are doing based off IP address, so we'll give this one, and we need to also give priority. So lower the priority, it is more preferred, right? So in this case, I have added two gateways, hub one, hub two, 112 and 222. Priority of 10 and 15 is given over here. The next thing is we need to map trusted root CA again over here. That would be used for authentication by satellite firewalls. So that trusted root CA should be mapped over here. And then in terms of client certificate, how would be the client certificate getting pushed, if it's a local or it's going to get through SCP, and then who's going to be the issuer or CSP validity period. So all this configuration we can do from here. So let's me cancel this, and then this mention gateway can connect with to the priority defined. So this is basically all the config that we need to do for portal, right? Um, for now we will stop with the session here. I'll continue with the gateway configuration in next video. If you have any question, please do comment. I'll try to answer. Thanks for your time. Have a good day. Thanks. Bye.